You don't need to know the answers to anyone's questions to help them and coach them. I'm Michael McIntosh, and I've spent the last 20 years doing spiritual life coaching before there was even a name for spiritual life coaching. In this video, you're going to learn how I invented spiritual life coaching and the three things, the surprising things that I learned along the way that can make you a better coach immediately. "20 years ago, I discovered or invented spiritual life coaching by mistake. I wasn't planning on doing coaching. I never even heard of coaching, to be perfectly honest. I was doing free meditation classes. I learned meditation. It completely changed my life. And so I was teaching it for free at a meditation center. And what I noticed is that many of the students really loved the meditation, and they had powerful experiences, and they felt so much better. But then, at the end of the class, they would say things like, "You know, Michael, it's a really great meditation, but when I leave here, I'm going to start feeling stressed out, and I've got this problem, I've got a relationship problem, I've got a problem with my work, I've got health challenges." So they would come to me with these real life challenges, and they would say, "Well, what can I do about that? What can I do about this? What can I do about this?" And my heart went out to them because I really loved my students and I wanted to help them. But when I tuned into it, I thought, well, to be completely honest, I'm like this 25-year-old kid. I don't really know about your health challenges or relationship problems. I haven't got that much life experience. What can I do? So all I said was, well, why don't you try doing more meditation? Hopefully, if you just meditate more, then everything will be all right. And I really hoped that that would work. But it turned out it didn't work. They would feel better with their meditation, but they would then go home and they had all these practical challenges. And it made me a little bit sad that I couldn't help them more. And then one day after one of the classes, I decided to try something else. So one woman said to me, "How can I deal with my relationship issue?" And I said, "Well, how is it making you feel?" And she shared a little bit more. And I said, "Well, what's happening in the situation?" I just asked her questions to help her clarify what was going on. And then I said, "Well, what do you think you could do? What are your options?" And she said, "Well, I could do this, I could do this." And I said, "Well, what about one thing you could do this week that would make a little improvement?" And she said, "Well, I could try this one thing." So she came up with her own solution because she knows her relationship better than anyone else. And she went away and she came back and she was so happy the next week. She said, "I tried that thing and my relationship feels so much better. I feel so much clearer. We're getting on better." And she was elated. She'd basically solved her own problem. And I remember thinking, this is amazing. All I did was ask her questions, and her own inner wisdom gave her the answer. So the first surprising thing I learned was that I actually don't need to know the answers to anyone's questions in order to help them. You don't need to be the expert on anyone's life in order to profoundly help them. Isn't that wonderful? And when I learned this, it took a lot of the pressure off, it took a lot of the stress out of it, and made me realize that the other person is the expert, and I'm just here to draw out of them the answers that are buried within. The second surprising thing that I learned is that 90% of coaching is actually just about listening. It's just about listening with an open heart, with a pure heart. Most people are never listened to by anyone in their life. If people have a conversation, someone says something, they're not really listening, they want to speak, and the other one speaks back, and they're not actually listening and connecting. It's just a monologue and another monologue. So when you really listen and you give people the space to share, just in the process of them speaking out loud what's going on in their heart and in their mind, that process by itself actually solves majority of the problems. Sometimes in sessions I've had, I haven't even asked them any questions or done anything, and just them speaking has resolved their own problems. And turns out that the better you listen, the more you listen, the more powerful your session will be. That's easy, isn't it? You just listen. The third surprising thing I learned is that instead of telling people what to do, my job and your job as a coach, spiritual coach, is to understand the power of questions. Now, when I got started, I was just trying different things out to see what worked. I could ask them, how does it make you feel? What would happen if you did it differently? Is what you're saying actually true? Do you really believe that? You know, I've just come up with these questions, but as I learned more about it, I realized that there are a set of 20 or 25 main questions that you can use that will change your coaching. What we're trying to do is just find out what's really going on within somebody, and then what is something that they can do practically in their life. It might be a change in behavior, or it might be a change in thinking. What is it they can do that is going to move them in a new direction? So the surprising thing was that asking a good question is 1,000 times more powerful than having these long-winded opinions about this, that, and the other. To be perfectly honest with you, I have found it difficult not to give advice because I've spent years learning all these things that can help people, right? So when someone has a problem, I'm like, well, you just need to do these 3 things. But I've had to learn, and many of us coaches have had to learn, to ease off, step back, let go. And let's be honest, if someone's telling you what you should do this, you should do that, what happens? We typically go, oh, I don't know about this, you know, because we don't want to be told what to do. If you let them tell themselves what to do and come to their own solutions, then they're far more likely to actually do it. So there it is. Pretty easy, isn't it? When you realize this, then you can save yourself a lot of stress, a lot of force, a lot of worry. Realize that they are the expert in their own life, and your job is to hold a space to help them get in the right consciousness. This is why we need to do a little bit of meditation, grounding, centering, to help them be able to hear their intuition. Listen really, really, really carefully, because when you listen, then you pick up things and you can ask the right question. And then finally, you just select the best question for them in that moment. When you realize this, all of a sudden, what was previously this big deal and really hard to do becomes much easier. The other people are served more, and everyone is happy. So I'm really glad that people asked me those questions all those years ago, and I'm glad that I didn't try and give them advice, because I'm sure my advice wouldn't have been very good. So this is all you need to do, is learn these 3 things really well and then develop them a little bit more as you practice. And a bonus surprising thing was that meditation can actually solve many problems, but it doesn't do it the way we think. What I've found in my own life and with clients I've worked with is that sometimes the only problem we really have is we're seeing things in a weird way. And when we do a lot of meditation and we start to see life from a different perspective, sometimes we can look at that same challenge that was really annoying us and realize that what we thought was a problem actually wasn't a problem at all, but it was a profound opportunity that is actually helping us. So this is another benefit of spiritual life coaching, is that you help people tap into this spiritual consciousness where they can see their life in a different way, and from that different place, challenges actually stop being challenges and turn into blessings. It's really beautiful when you see that happen. If you want, you can subscribe to this channel and get more fun videos to help you create a beautiful life, doing what you love, making a difference, and being the blissful, happy soul that you are. Lots and lots of love. Thank you for your wonderful presence.